What is up, ladies and gents? This is George Bean, and I had just seen the new film Glass last night, and this is my quickie review for it. Glass is M. Night Shyamalan's 13th film, and the third installment in the so-called Eastrail 177 Trilogy, which includes Unbreakable from 2000 and Split from 2016. To give the heads up, I have become a very huge fan of Unbreakable. I believe it is one of Shyamalan's very best films, and I believe it to be his unsung masterpiece. And as a superhero film, it is one of the most original ones out there, very different from the films we get now, like the Avengers or Justice League. And as a drama thriller, it also showed off the acting chops of Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. They were both really good in Unbreakable as David Dunn and Elijah Price. Their roles in that film were very good, possibly their most underrated roles ever. And when watching it, I'd also deeply desire to see a sequel to it, just so I could see more of these two characters and how they evolve into becoming arch enemies like from the comic books. But despite it being a stellar film, at the time of its release, its box office performance was not that great, and it didn't help warrant a sequel at the time. But then, Split had come out in 2016. Through the marketing and how the film plays out, Split was marketed as being a standalone film. It was a psychological horror film starring James McAvoy as a man named Kevin Crumb, who suffers from 24 personalities. But that was until it showed a post-credit scene, which revealed its connection to Unbreakable. That was a really big surprise for everybody who had initially seen it in cinema. And not only that, but it was also setting up a potential sequel that would feature all the characters from Unbreakable and Split, mainly David Dunn, Elijah Price, and Kevin Crumb. And of course, thanks to Split having become a major success, this had helped give the go-ahead for a sequel, of which Shyamalan revealed would be titled Glass, named after Elijah Price's nickname, Mr. Glass. It was clear that Elijah was going to be the primary antagonist, based on the cast and crew's beliefs on how the sequels would have gone. And as stated in one of Glass's commercial spots, David is the superhero, Kevin is the supervillain, and Elijah is the mastermind. As you can guess from the trailers, most of the film is set in the psychiatric hospital where the three main characters are confined in, under the care of psychiatrist Dr. Ellie Staple, played by American Horror Story alumni Sarah Paulson, who believes that all three of them are suffering from some kind of grand delusion. I will say, I am happy to have finally gotten a proper Unbreakable sequel, despite its flaws. It was really emotional for me to get to see Bruce Willis returning as David Dunn, and wearing that Green Rain poncho once again. He actually really did look like a superhero with that poncho, which almost resembles a superhero cape. But it was also good to see his David character now more experienced with his powers and how to use them properly. Like as if he is embracing his powers. But surprisingly, David actually has a small amount of screen time in this film, which is weird given how he is supposed to be the protagonist of the film, and how this entire trilogy had started with him. And as always, Sam Jackson is firing on all cylinders when acting. I love this performance as Elijah Price in Unbreakable, so getting to see him returning to play that role once more was also emotional for me. It was nice to see that Elijah embraced the fact that he may actually be a supervillain, David Dunn's arch-enemy, and also seeing him back in that purple suit was a very nice touch. He looks a bit more sinister when sitting in his wheelchair, given how his on-screen co-star, the It's ironic, given how his on-screen co-star McAvoy has also been playing the wheelchair-bound Professor X in the X-Men movies. And also, McAvoy was in X-Men, which was Marvel. Jackson played Nick Fury in the Avengers movies, which were part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, ergo Marvel, so yeah. We just found our Jackson McAvoy Marvel connection. Marvelception. But also, the real star is James McAvoy, returning as Kevin Crumb. I was blown away by his performance in Split, or performances. I believe it to be one of his very best acting performances ever in a film. The fact that he had to play a man with several different personalities is a huge feat he had managed to accomplish. I mean, seriously, if you haven't seen Split, go watch it. Just for McAvoy in it. And in Glass, it is a treat to see more of that performance, especially when he is talking to Dr. Ellie Staple. She uses this sort of contraption that flashes bright lights at him to switch the personalities. It's a brilliant scene that allows McAvoy to shine in the space of 5 minutes. But his personality switches are downplayed here, given that it is a crowded film. But even so, he does spend the majority of the film as the Beast. It is a real treat to see him as the Beast, displaying animalistic tendencies. Like in Split, McAvoy still gives it his all in this film. The first half was really entertaining to watch, especially in watching how David Dunn investigates the series of murders going on, and figures out the Beast being responsible. It eventually leads to him rescuing cheerleaders who were abducted, and when the Beast shows up, it leads to a fight. The fight scene was spectacular to watch. Nothing huge or CGI-ish in it, just two guys throwing each other at walls and pillars and throwing heavy tables. But of course, the fight is interrupted when the authorities arrive and detain them. And David and Kevin are then sent into the Ravenhill Memorial Hospital to be evaluated by Ellie Staple, which is also the same place where Mr. Glass is held at, under sedation. I really love the middle act set in the hospital. We get to watch as she evaluates and examines our three main super beings. But as it's revealed, Miss Glass had caught notice of the Horde, and upon learning more about the Beast, he gets around to meeting the Beast with the proposal of teaming up. Yes, the bad guys teaming up. And thus this sets in motion Glass's plans as they escape from the mental hospital, leaving a trail of dead bodies in their wake, with the plan to prove to the world that super beings actually exist, albeit with collateral damage. And so it's left up to David to get out and attempt to stop them from completing their plans, which then leads into a showdown between superhero and supervillains, and it's a showdown, not exactly a huge epic battle like the Avengers, but we do get to see more of David and the Beast, using their superhuman strength against each other, throwing each other around. But also, the ending. I am not going to spoil it in this video, but oh boy, it's a real eyebrow raiser for sure. In the week before its release, I had heard of people talking about it, and yeah, it was nothing like how we had probably would have expected it to be. I have a very deep feeling that this ending is going to become a huge topic of discussion among Shyamalan fans in the ensuing months. But I will mostly say that Shyamalan had got some balls sticking with that ending. Whether it was a good thing or a bad thing depends on how the viewer sees it as is. But as a recommendation for you, if you plan to see this film, If you have high expectations, drop them. Drop them down to rock bottom expectations. I've learned that if you go in a movie with high expectations, it's likely you will come out disappointed. That kind of thing that's the same kind of thing that had happened to me for Independence Day Resurgence. And I suspect that was what happened for people with Star Wars The Last Jedi as well. But if you go in it with rock bottom expectations, then it is likely you may come out surprised. Glass is not a big budget spectacle like the Avengers. It is more of a psychological thriller with superheroes in it. It is more down to earth and more reality based. I'd compare it to Unbreakable. That film was nothing like what you'd expect in a superhero film, tonally and thematically, and how it looks. So overall, I could give Glass a rating of at least 7 out of 10, because despite it being underwhelming, especially in its climax, it is worth the watch for its entertaining first half, the great performances by McAvoy and Jackson, and also to see how it concludes the entire Eastrail 177 trilogy. It may actually require me to need to watch this movie a few more times to get more into understanding it, but based solely on my one-time viewing this film last night, I'd give it a minor recommendation, but only on the condition that you keep your expectations as low as possible. So, thanks for watching, ladies and gents. Sorry about that I didn't get this out the last weekend. This movie was unexpected. I had to almost rewrite the entire script for this review just to get my thoughts straight on it. But I do hope this is helpful. So thanks for watching, and until then, I will see you all next time. Peace!